NotebookLM is great for exploring personal journals. It has limitations, but it's uniquely valuable for journalers and diarists. After extensive testing, I've distilled 7 highlights of NotebookLM. Uploading journals can be cumbersome. It fails the needle in the haystack test. It can't always retrieve every relevant document. However, on the upside, it has exceptional summarization, strong synthesis, handy extras like Mindmap visualization, and the standout deep dive AI podcast feature. Let's explore each of these. First, uploading journals. If your entries are numerous or highly segmented, uploading can get tricky. The free version of NotebookLM limits uploads to fewer than 50 files per project. The paid version ups this to 300 sources, but that was still too few for me, meaning consolidation was necessary. For larger journaling collections, expect some upfront work to merge files or plan around this limitation. For smaller journals, this probably won't matter much. It allows a generous 500,000 words per file. However, you'll have to put some work in to maximize that benefit. Moreover, you won't be able to achieve this maximum using Google Docs from your Google Drive because Drive has a limit of 1,023,000 characters per file, which will be exhausted well before the file reaches 500,000 words. I discovered that the hard way, and I'm sharing that with you now so that you don't have to. Second, the needle in the haystack test. Unfortunately, it fails. Specific entries buried in extensive content may not surface easily. I tested this on a unique entity name that occurs twice in my journals. NotebookLM was unable to locate either of them. Third, relatedly, NotebookLM doesn't guarantee comprehensive retrieval for broader searches. However, as we'll see, there's still value here. I'm going to demonstrate NotebookLM for journaling analysis using the diaries of Samuel Peeps, who was a famous diarist based in London during 17th century England. He wrote about the Great Plague, about the Great Fire of London. His diaries cover the years 1660 through 1669, 3,434 entries comprising 1.2 million words. I had to split these up into 3 different files in order to get those to fit because each file can only contain up to 500,000 words. So if I click on this, this is the actual data. You opened the file, that's what it would look like, and then below that you see the diary entries are starting. Up here, it gives you this summary of what is in that file, some of the key topics, and it does that for each of these files. So it summarized that on the fly. This file has 392,000 words, of which 381,000 is in the actual content. So what I'm going to do is create a timeline. It's one of the first really interesting things you can do. While we do that, you can also take a look at the summary that they provided. These texts are diary entries from Samuel Pepys, chronicling his life and times in the 1660s, detailing his activities, finances, social life, notable figures, famous people he encountered. It can take a while for something like this timeline to generate because this is 1.2 million words. And while it's doing that, I'm going to jump ahead and I'm going to create a couple of other things because these take a while to process too, in particular the audio overview that started. Another interesting analysis they do is the FAQ. I'll get that started. The timeline is completed, so now we can look at that. And there you go, detailed timeline. So these are selected days from his diaries. Somebody borrows money from him or attempts to, goes to the doctor. There's a lot in his life. Royalty, battles, naval fleets, ranging from the mundane pastimes to the fleet of over 100 ships, one having Lord Sandwich aboard. But if you go down further, it does something else. It gives you a cast of characters. Of course, the writer himself, Samuel Pepys, and other important people. So you can imagine if this were your diary, these would be people gleaned from your writings. It's quite comprehensive. And for each one of them, it gives a little blurb about who they are or what particular interaction they might have had. There you go. Now we can make that be minimized. Oh, and look, the audio overview is already completed. But let's take a look at this. This was the FAQ that we generated. It's giving us a bunch of interesting questions for which it provides the answers. So if you ever have mental block trying to think of interesting questions to ask when doing an analysis on your own journals, NotebookLM thinks of those questions for you, such as, how does Peeps describe social life? What role does his personal and professional network play in his life and career? How did he approach his finances and wealth accumulation? What are some of his reflections on human nature, societal observations? A lot of these questions, I think, are fairly timeless that one would be interested in today. How does he balance his professional duties with his personal life? Let's start the briefing doc. And while we're at it, let's get the study guide going. You can see also down here, there are additional questions that are suggested. You click on these and it will do the analysis. So here's the briefing doc. That's completed. We click on that and it gives you this overview. I found that it delivers some interesting insights, breaks down what are the key themes and observations over all of the content. Naval affairs was important. Of course, we have accounts of his personal life. And here are some of the important concepts gleaned from his diaries. His patron Lord Sandwich figured frequently in his diaries. He talks about details of daily life, his efforts to improve himself. This is interesting. I like this. Notable quotes. Everybody now drinks the king's health without any fear, whereas before it was very private that a man dare do it, with a reference to the date. Look at this one. Very self-aware. My mind is now in a wonderful condition of quiet and content, more than ever. I found that NotebookLM has a superpower, and that superpower is answering insightful questions. So, for example, this one, let's embrace the hypothesis that sometimes your diaries are hiding secrets, motivating us to dig deeper to discover what they've been trying to tell you, even if that means to read between the lines. What are the most surprising secrets you can dig from these diary entries? So this isn't just simple summarization. This is going to require a little bit more intelligence, a little bit more gleaning of insights. So let's see how it does. And this is what it returned. Repeated the question. He was involved in a series of secret excavations. They tried hard, but they never found it. I was really looking for something a bit more personal. Well, here we go. Hidden turmoil in domestic life. While the diaries often detail professional matters, they also reveal significant domestic secrets and anxieties. Okay, well, there you go. It unearthed that. Another answer to that question. Admissions of flawed character and actions. Ooh, he sinned. He ate flesh during Lent. He acknowledges financial pretense. Oh, and just the act of keeping a journal was a personal secret, and he shared that with somebody, but later feared that this was not a good idea. Now's a great time to show the citations here. It has the citation for that particular finding, and if we look up the name of that person, Coventry, there it is. You can see right there. And if we click on that, it's going to open up the original. And look at that, it goes right down to the paragraph. NotebookLM will cite the specific paragraph. Very useful for verifying the accuracy. you can tell the assistant to frame the answer in a different point of view. So here I'm going to say, pretend you are Peeps and answer in first person point of view. And then asking it this question, what are some changes in thought that made you successful? So rather than asking scholarly academic type questions, let's look for something a little bit more interesting that you might ask of yourself. And it does. It's talking as if it is the voice of Samuel Pepys. And it even uses the language that he uses. He was a very devout person. And so this language is recognizable from his diaries. So what are the changes in thought that made him successful? And look, it puts it into bold. Isn't that nice? This shift from merely performing my duty to actively engaging with and seeking the respect of superiors opened many doors. Oh, and look at this. There's another answer. The power of demonstrating one's abilities publicly. He did a speech before Parliament, so putting himself out there. All right, well, this time we're going to change the point of view again. We're going to say, pretend that I am Peeps and answer in the second person point of view. What are some epiphanies that made massive changes to my thinking and doing? Oh, look at that. Imagine running this on your own diaries and seeing these answers to questions like this, to surfacing these insights. And sometimes it might be something that corroborates something you already know. Sometimes it might be a blind spot you weren't fully aware of. And sometimes it might be altogether surprising. So there you go. You can get it to talk to you as if it's a conversational partner. And if you're dealing with your own journals, this is probably how you're going to be doing it. You can even get it to pose as you and speak in your voice. And then, of course, along the way, you have those citations. So what about privacy? Well, they claim that they will never use your personal data to train a NotebookLM. That said, if you provide feedback, then their reviewers may review your queries. And they say that it's best to avoid submitting any information you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing. So what does that mean? Well, it means that don't click on either one of these thumbs up or thumbs down. Then when you're done, you could just delete all of these analyses that were done for you. Like you want to delete this audio overview. There you go. Delete that. If you want to delete one of these, do that. In fact, you can delete all of them, like so. This one is in progress, but I think that one will be deleted when I refresh. And all of this stuff here, that isn't saved unless you actually did save it as a note. Such as, for example, you do this, then that's going to be over here. Of course, that'll be deleted when you do that. Now, all of this stuff that's in this middle area, when you hit refresh, all of that is going to be cleared. We still have this guy, and that's still being processed by them, but I'm just going to refresh the entire page. And there we go. Back to a clean slate. Now let's look at the mind map. If we go to the top, we'll see this, but this is something we clicked on earlier, and we created one that's over here. If you click this, it's going to start a new one. Let's just do that just to show you what that does. So it's creating a new mind map. Let's look at the one we already have. It looks like this. It takes this content and it categorizes it. It clusters it into these different topics and themes like personal and family life, which it has that little right angle bracket, this little symbol there, indicating it can be expanded again. And some of these have enough content affiliated with them, they can be expanded even further. So it's this multiple level tree structure called Mindmap. So here we have different places, and because I have a lot of content, there's a lot here. But this is another way that you can explore your content. So for example, let's take a look at professional life. And now we're going to actually click on one of these and see what happens. It's actually going to submit a query or prompt to the assistant and asking it this question. Okay, so there's the answer. And of course, you have your references. So it's another way that you can explore your content. Now let's talk about the audio overview. I sometimes call this the AI podcast. It resembles a podcast. It's a discussion that summarizes key topics. It's a great way to familiarize with new content, or in this case, listening to it can introduce you to a lot of the main themes that it discovered in your journals and diaries. It's not intended to be comprehensive or objective, but more or less inspired by your journal content. So let's play this.
You ever feel like you're trying to build a real understanding of something complex, but you just don't have the hours to wade through all the information? Well, welcome to the deep dive. Think of us as your expert guides, sifting through the essential sources so you can grasp the key insights quickly and thoroughly.
And today, you're in for quite a journey. We're immersing ourselves in the really intimate and revealing diary entries of Samuel Pepys, covering 1660 right through to 1669.
Yeah, this isn't just dry history. It's like having a direct line to someone living through one of England's most, well, transformative decades, the Restoration.
Exactly. We've got his personal thoughts, things he heard, his reflections on, politics, society, gossip, everyday life. It's all in there.
Our mission today is to pull out those surprising facts, those moments that really make you go, aha, and shed light on this pivotal time.
And Pepys's range is just incredible. We'll be tracking some huge themes. The tricky reestablishment of the monarchy, what society was like, Pepys' own career taking off, and how people reacted to massive events like, well, the plague and war.
Okay, let's dive right in.
Okay, so there you have it. That's what it's like. It's fun, it's engaging, and it's two podcasters talking about your journals. It can be kind of fun. Check it out. I've mentioned several times now how NotebookLM is superb at many things, but it doesn't support search. I built this web app that complements standard LLMs like NotebookLM. Unlike them, it indexes term frequencies so I can get exact word counts. So I can do things like generate word clouds, and I can visualize term trends over time. It supports precise search too. So that means I can find that one document with a specific rare term. It also supports semantic search for broader concepts. On top of all that, I built a natural language interface so that I can talk to it like an LLM. Right now, it's invite only for those with serious intent. NotebookLM excels at several things that are very useful for exploring or gleaning insights from your journals. First, text synthesis and summarization is its core strength. Second, you can ask it to surface recurring themes. It's quite good at spotting repeated ideas. If you prompt it with interpretive or comparative questions, it gives meaning-based answers and even cites the exact paragraph where the answer came from. Fourth, with the right prompt, you can guide it to build a chronological or thematic story from fragmented entries. It won't do this on its own, but it can follow your lead. It also has some exclusive features. The Mindmap is good for getting a visual overview or for exploring your documents. Audio overview, podcast-style audio summaries generated by AI hosts are really super engaging and fun to listen to and get a sense of what your stuff is about. The cited responses. Every answer links back to the source document, and each notebook works like a chat room with memory of the documents inside it. Now, what it doesn't do, NotebookLM doesn't handle precise keyword or phrase search. It doesn't give you word counts or term trends, and it can't filter or sort documents like a database. But that's okay, because if you pair it with a tool like Life Logging AI, you get the best of both worlds. If you are still with me this far, thanks very much for hanging in there, and I hope this was useful for you.